Hello and welcome back to another episode.
Hi.
Danny and I have just got back from, well, a week ago. We spent 5 days together. I flew over to Sydney and I met with Danny and another one of our best friends, Georgia, and we spent the best part of a week together in what was just planned as like a girls' weekend. And we thought it would be really special to just like speak into this and share it with you all and give you a little bit of a rundown on what we did. And I shared with Danny before we went into this girls' weekend, like before this, my girls' weekends were like going out for dinner, drinking, like very unconscious. And there was nothing wrong with that. But I had never had a girls' weekend with like deep soul aligned sisters. And so this girls' weekend was kind of like a retreat and like a healing ceremony after healing ceremony. And it was so fucking special.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, and there was Danny had her birthday while we were there, and I think on her birthday, probably like at least 12 times, you were like, "This is the best birthday ever."
Hands down.
Yeah, and it was just so special. We did a few different ceremonies, and I don't know what you feel called to speak into, Danny, but the healing that has come from it has really rocked me in the way that I'm showing up in my life right now. And this past week of being home has involved a lot of shedding and very revealing of my patterns. So yeah, Danny, if you want to speak into like something that we did over the weekend and then we'll just flow from there.
Yeah, I love this. I love being able to just share completely vulnerably and yeah, and openly. And it's gonna tie in really well with the topic that we have for today, which is like higher self and intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I really want to speak about the weekend because I feel like it was such a magical space. And so yeah, so you just flew down and we found this spot, this Airbnb, literally in the middle of nowhere. I think like the closest town was like 45 minutes away. So we were
Mm-hmm.
literally in the mountains, and it was so amazing, surrounded by like cows and surrounded by horses, and yeah, it was just such a beautiful moment. Like the ability to, I know for me, the ability to just strip off naked and fucking dance under the full moon and just shake my tush completely openly and freely in the freezing cold in the middle of winter was so healing. Like it was so transformational and healing. Like the different ceremonies that we did and different embodiment practices, like from dancing around the fire to, oh my God, I have to share this. So Mon asked me a few weeks ago. She was like, "What's your love language?" And I really thought into that, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, like no one's ever asked me what my love language is before. I mean, apart from like a mentor." And I was like, "I don't. Yeah, wow." And I told her I was like, "Well, it's like physical touch and like words of affirmation." And I was like, pretty much everything that that we do to each other anyway. She's like, "Okay, cool." And I was like, "What's yours?" Nothing more was said. On my birthday, Mon and our other sister Georgia read me a poem around the fire, like from their heart. Like that was my birthday present. Like it was the most beautiful, magical thing that I could have ever experienced on my birthday. Like, like as you said earlier, Mon, like all of my apart from the last couple of years, they've been, last year my birthday was I went by myself and did like a cacao trauma release ceremony and went for a night by myself and was really beautiful. But every other getaway that I've ever had with women have always been drinking and going out and partying or going to dinners and which is not bad, but they just don't align with me anymore. And yeah, so to have a weekend away with my two bestest friends in the whole wide world and then read me a poem around a fire on a full fucking moon on my birth night was the
Yeah.
best birthday present I could have ever asked for. Like, holy shit.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're so deserving of it all.
Mm.
And I think that was, like, a testament to the love that you felt on your birthday was like, "Holy fuck, I am deserving of it all, and
Yeah.
I can have it all," and, there is so much more available that to us than we ever realized.
Mhm.
And it was such a special moment to, meet you in your love language and read a poem to you. Like, I couldn't even get the words out when I was reading Dani her poem. I was, crying. And I couldn't see my words on my paper, and I was like, 'cause I could feel my love and care for you through the words that I was reading, and it was such a beautiful moment for me to experience the depths of love that I have for you as well, and also for you to receive that. But there was just so many moments throughout that weekend where I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is real love." Like, whether it was, we would get up in the mornings and everyone would just go and do, their own little ritual. Whether, Danny's dancing outside naked or, George is writing, in her journal or, I'm sitting drinking cacao, we're so in our bodies and in our essence and just doing the things that make us feel good, and we were just so in harmony with each other, and we all have, similar values, and it was just, this permission to absolutely be yourself.
I've never had friends like that.
And yeah, and honor yourself and do practices that make you feel incredible with each other and with yourself. And from everything that we did that weekend, my cup was just so full and I felt so loved and so held and so honored. And it really unlocked something within me that I didn't know was available. And I say that all the time in our friendship, I feel, because it just keeps getting deeper. And we keep experiencing more love and more of what's really available to us when we are in our true essence.
And it's the piece of vulnerability and softening into the moments that are challenging and the moments that are crunchy or the moments that are icky as well, and just going, well, you know
Mhm,
what, this is my truth, and I'm going to speak my truth. And like there was even a moment like on the way home when I was like driving you girls back to the airport, where I was like, there was this piece that came up for me that was like this moment that, back in my old friendships, I always felt like a third wheel, or I didn't feel good enough to be worthy. And this piece like came through for just a moment over the weekend, like towards the very end of the weekend. And normally what I would do is just suppress that and not feel that, or like really feel into that and go, well, I'm not good enough. These are not my people. Whereas on the way home, being so embodied and connected to my highest self, and knowing, being in that alignment and knowing that this is my truest essence, and if I don't speak into this, even just voice it into the ether, then it's going to be bottled up within there. So on the way home, just expressing that, and then our other sister saying the same thing. She was like, yeah, I felt like that throughout moments of other friendships and moments in through this. She's like, what do I offer in in this friendship? What do you feel that I offer? And it's really beautiful to be able to look into that and go, wow, how beautiful is that, that we can really unlock that and open up to that and say, hey, this is how I felt for a moment. That's not on you, that's on me, and that's my own wounding. And just voicing that into the ether, gone, completely gone. Like,
yeah,
wow, how powerful was that? But I've never, ever, never, ever had a friendship that I've been able to just be so vulnerable and just speak completely into my truest essence and just be held and witnessed in that, the way that, you women held me and witnessed me throughout the whole weekend.
mhm,
Whether that was dancing naked and, freely and openly in the freezing cold under the full moon, or whether that was, doing a monarchy ceremony, which was like a rite of passage
mhm,
that we did, which was like so fucking profound. It was like, the end of it. Like, so we did this practice, just so the listeners are like, what's a monarchy? If you don't know what a monarchy is a name for a rite of passage that they do in many cultures, and that they used to do in all of the cultures, which was an initiation for women into her getting her moon cycle, so her first bleed. It's like, wow, you've got your moon cycle, you've got your bleeding now, you're officially initialized because you can have children now, right? So it's like a step into adulthood, no matter your age. And there would be a celebration of other women that would come around and they would celebrate you for that. Well, in today's society, we don't really have that. And I know that I didn't, and neither did you, sis, and our other friend hadn't either. It was our experiences were actually quite traumatic. I
Mhm.
actually didn't remember mine. Like that's um, how shut off that I was from it. I didn't even remember when I got my first bleed. So it was really beautiful to be able to witness each other. And we had like this red carpet where there was like one at the end of the aisle. It was like we were getting married, and then one was like giving us away. And we like read this letter that we wrote to like how our experience was when we had our bleed. And then after we'd done that, we then released whatever it was that needed to be released. And I was the first one that did it. So I had like all of this energy that just came up. And I just remember like screaming at the top of my lungs. And I like pulled off all of my clothes and I just ran around naked. And I was like, fucking, wow, I'm a woman. To just being like completely witnessed and celebrated by my best friends that were just like, fuck yes you are, and just like holding
Mhm.
me and in that. And it was so powerful for yeah, for all of us. And whether it's been that vulnerable or just the ability to be able to speak into, hey, there was this moment that came up for me and this is how I felt, and it's gone now, and I am speaking into
Mm.
that and not being told that, oh, that's not how things are, just being witnessed and held in that space, which just held and will only just strengthen the connection that I know that I have with my highest self and my intuition for leaning into um, such an open friendship.
Yeah, and I feel that that comes down to the safety that we have created over time.
Mhm.
That you feeling safe enough to share those pieces, and I share my pieces when they come up, and just being held and witnessed in them, and knowing that it is enough just to hold you and witness you in them and not always give you feedback or say something, like just holding you and allowing you to feel what you feel and not making it bad or wrong, but making it okay and valid. And then I also the piece around when we did our monarchy and you were like, "Oh my gosh, like I felt safe enough to get naked in front of 2 women for them to be fully clothed, staring at me, screaming at me, and celebrating me." Like, how's that a story change? Like, holy fuck. Because I feel like a lot of the time as women, we are the ones that judge each other. I don't feel like a lot of women fear the judgment of men, and that's just my personal opinion. But I feel like a lot of the body stuff when it comes to women is like with each other. And it's something in our friendship that we have completely shattered. Like the amount of time we spent naked in the weekend was so fun. Like so fun. And it was the middle of winter.
Yeah, it was fucking freezing.
Yeah. And
And
like,
where we were, it was like, oh my God, it was like we were on top of this hill, on top of this mountain. There were like
yeah,
these trees, like 2 mountains away, but the wind was howling, the fire was going 24/7, and it was fucking freezing.
it was so cold. But we would like me and Danny were dancing outside for hours naked. And when you're dancing for that long, like, you just get warm. You're warm. You don't even realize, like, you're too busy, like, connecting with the trees and the sky and, like, you're not there, but you're there.
And the
It was just
land, pussy to
yeah,
earth.
yeah, it was so beautiful. It also for me, like, dancing for that long in nature, it unlocked, and I know this was for you as well, it unlocked a new way of moving my body.
Mm.
Like, I started to move my body in ways that I never had that just felt good. That were completely like, if you watched it, you would be like, "Well, she looks a little bit crazy." But, like, it just feels good. It's completely unstructured and it's completely free, and I noticed since coming home, I have been dancing so differently. Because like, dance has always been, like since I've been on my healing journey, it's been a part of my life, but the way I move now feels so different and so free. And I feel like that was just, like, us feeding off the land and off each other and, like, the journeys that we went on over that weekend. It was so beautiful.
Mm. Yeah, it
Mm,
was beautiful. The spirits of that land were really, really intense as well. Like as soon as we got there, we both felt it, and our other sister did as well. Just
yeah.
and the history behind that land was
Mm.
incredible.
It was so perfect.
Mm,
It was so
mm.
perfect, and I just yeah, I'm so grateful.
Yeah, me too.
I'm
Me
so grateful.
too. I really
Mm,
feel like this definitely wouldn't have been able to take place if I hadn't built a connection with my higher self and my intuition. So let's just unpack that a little bit. What is the higher self and what is the intuition? So the higher self is literally your soul guiding you in life. So it's like the driving force of the machine, the body being the machine, the mechanical machine, moving the arms, doing the things, just structured and just go. And then the intuition is the messenger. So the intuition is like that feeling that you get in your body, that feeling, that knowing. I don't know, but there's something off about this person. I don't know what it is. There's just an energetic mismatch. And then eventually you find out that, that person may have hurt someone or hurt you or et cetera, et cetera. And you're like, I should have listened to that. When you
mhm,
can strengthen that consistently by listening, by every time that you start to get a feeling in your body and go, oh, I just know the answer to that, lean into that, even if it's just a little bit. The more that you can do that, you strengthen that connection that you have with your highest self, and therefore more will start to become aligned. And I know for me that I wouldn't have been able to um, really create friendship or relationships at any way and have such a magical weekend if I hadn't done that level of understanding what my highest self is trying to tell me, what my intuition is telling me each and every time. And now that I know, like I notice now that massive shifts happen through day to day, and I notice all the time all of the micro moments that I'm not listening to my intuition, which I never noticed before. And now that I have such a strong connection with my highest self and with my intuition, like all of these, I do everything based off my intuition. What is my womb space? What is my intuition telling me? What would my highest self say? What would she do? That I now notice, like, not only the big things, like, for example, if energy is off with someone or something or a place or a time, right? But I also notice the tiny little micro moments, like, throughout the day. So, for example, there was there's oh my god, I've had so many that have happened, like, over the past maybe week or so, like, tiny, tiny little things. My mind's just completely gone blank. So I'm just gonna just put out an example here, right? So, for example, pulling an oracle card and then listening to the intuition. The intuition says to pull 1, but then you
mhm,
pull 2, but then you pull a second one and all of a sudden it doesn't align. You're like, "Well, that doesn't really make any sense."
mhm,
Or going to find a park in the parking lot and going to park the car at one particular park, but then the intuition just says, "Oh no, don't park here." But then you park there anyway, and then the next minute you've got some unconscious person beeping the horn and carrying on from behind because they were going to park there or something, right? These aren't specific things that have happened to me throughout the week. As I said, there's been literally hundreds, but my mind's like completely blank right now because I'm like on camera. But it is what it is. But there's been so many of these micro moments that happen consistently, but I never noticed those things
mhm.
ever until I really started to strengthen those really big, yeah, those really big moments.
Yeah, I feel that, and I think that at the start of well, not at the start of your healing journey, but, like, when you're living in an unconscious state, you're living in a way to please others and meet others' needs before your own, and you're disconnected with your intuition, and, like, you're living in, like, your conditioning and your limiting beliefs, and so I feel like for so long, even when my intuition did tell me things, I could not hear it. there is no way I could hear it. I didn't even know what it felt like to put myself first. I thought that was selfish. I didn't know what it was like to say no to people, to stop people pleasing,
Mm.
to say no to my partner, to put my needs first, to tell him what I fucking need. Like, I couldn't do any of the things my intuition was telling me because I was, one, so disconnected, and two, so conditioned not to listen.
Mm. Mm.
And so I feel like through increasing your consciousness and coming back to your body, you start to almost, it comes in waves. I feel like initially you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so out of resonance. I need to change so much. And then you almost have like, well, for me, I was like, I need to quit my job, which felt like a huge piece. And then as you make like the changes, and something me and Dani do is, and we really hold each other to, is as soon as you get an insight into something, a change, a message, a calling, whatever it is, you action it straight away rather than sitting on it. And so every
That's how
time,
the intuition works, right? The
yeah.
intuition is that just intuitive, don't think with the mind, drop into the heart and say the very first thing.
Yeah, and every time you do that, like Dani said, it deepens your connection with it. So it's louder, it's clearer. You start to come onto like your divine path, and like you start to experience more abundance and more love and just more fulfillment in your life because you're actually living through your higher self and through your intuition and your soul, and you're here on your mission and you're doing what is aligned for you rather than doing all the things that are out of alignment and that are almost all the stuff that we're conditioned to do that are not our truth. And I feel like now it's like sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming when you're like, oh my gosh, my intuition is so loud. And like I get it all the time. Like it'll be like today, for example, my partner's gone to do a job somewhere and he's like, do you want to come? And I was like, I could come. And my body was like, absolutely not. And I was like, okay, it's a no. And it's just a no. It's not a no because it's just a no. I don't need to give reasoning. It's a no for me. And yeah, every single day, like based on what I do, like when me and Dani finish recording this podcast, I will get messages from my body what I need to do. And I will honor that. But if we're living in a fast-paced society and we're in our masculine energy all the time, intuition is very feminine. And so we can't hear it.
Mm. The intuition is feminine. It's a
Mm,
feminine energy. Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And
Mm.
so we're unable to honor our truth and to be in alignment with our higher selves if we are living in the way society has conditioned us to live. Mm.
But I know for me, when I really started to tap into my intuition and really started to listen to her, listen to she, literal magic started to happen. Like all of the things that I thought from a little girl were just like all of the things that I knew from a little girl were magic, but I was told was just coincidence. Would actually happen like consistently when I work from, move from, walk from, sleep from, breathe
Mhm.
from a place of intuition. I become magnetic. Everything just falls into place.
Yeah, I feel that. And I feel that like no matter what I'm doing, and it's this letting go of seeking and it's this being. And I honestly in everything I do when I come into my intuition, it's like it brings me deep fulfillment because I'm being so authentic. Like all the masks are off and I'm in my pure essence. And whether I'm like speaking and sharing something from that place or I'm being and just sitting in that energy, it just feels so abundant and so whole and so fulfilling. And it's just being the essence of who you truly are. And it sounds like that can sound quite simple if it's like just connecting to your intuition and what your body's telling you and like being on your soul's path, but it's actually really hard to do. Like it's taken me and Dani years to get to this place. And I really feel that it starts with like the little nudges, like maybe you're sitting in a conversation and someone's like gossiping and you're like, "Oh, I don't want to be in this." Like your body's like, "Ugh." And you start to just leave those conversations. Or you start to express your boundaries and say, "Can you please not gossip around me?" I feel like the best way for me was, yeah, to start small. One of the first, actually the first, I can remember the first time I set a boundary based on what my intuition told me. And it was at work and someone was gossiping. And I said to her, "Can you please not talk about other people with me?" And I can remember when I said it, I was like sweating. My voice was like shaking. I was really scared. And she responded and she was like, "Yeah, that's probably really good for both of us." And I was like, "Ah." And I
Wow.
started to, yeah, every time I started to honor my intuition and every time my body was like, "This is a hell no," or "This is a hell yes." And I started to follow that, I started to feel better. I'd feel happier, like more aligned, I'd feel more powerful. And I was like, wow, this is like not easy. It's very uncomfortable to do, but it also makes me feel incredible. And so, yeah, it can look different. It could be big things that come up within you and big changes that you need to make, but it could also be really small.
I remember the very first, well, it's probably not the very first time, but it's the very first um, memory that comes into my mind about a like a huge realization that I had, and it was a direct connect, like a direct conversation with my soul.
Mm,
And I'm just going to put a bit of a disclaimer out here. I trust that I've spoken about it in our very first podcast about my journey, but I want to mention it again because it potentially could have saved my life. So when I was about 28, I tried to commit suicide. I was in a really unhealthy relationship. I was in severe domestic violence, and things were like really, really bad for me at the time. And I ended up in a mental institution for the course of 48 hours. And within the first 48 hours, I actually had a visit from my soul. It came as like a form of a dream, but I wasn't asleep. And it was this direct message of, you need to leave. What the fuck are you doing? You cannot stay. And I just remember like getting this feeling and this knowing like in my solar plexus, like which is like located around the stomach area, like this knotted just knowing, I know what I have to do, and I have to leave. I know what I have to do. And I
mm,
acted on that months later. I obviously created a safe plan because I had 3 children. And, if you've been in domestic violence, you generally can't just get up and leave. So you've got to create safety. So I created a contingency plan and I got myself out of that. But who knows what the fuck would have happened if I had stayed in that relationship and I didn't listen to that initial, like, direct message from my highest self, from my soul,
mm,
which was, this is what you need to do. And from that moment, after leaving that, I started to notice, like from that age, that I gently would start to listen to little things that she would say, like, okay, now it's time to work really hard, 6 days a week, 10 clients a day. Let's go. And you save all of your money, and it's time to leave this town. And I gently started to listen to it, gently started to lean into that. The moment that I did that, I moved back to my hometown and life completely changed. So much better. And then I started to notice, like, oh, maybe I'll listen. Oh, I'm gonna stop drinking so much. I'm actually not gonna go out with those girls, even though I want to make friends in a new place that I don't know anyone. But I have that feeling that they're not my people, and would gently start to listen to that intuition and that higher self. And then over the course of years, and then all of these little baby steps, and then these huge steps. I mean, ultimately, that first time was a massive, massive step, but it's created safety within my body, safety within my nervous system, safety within my mind, and safety within my energy, that's allowed me to go, oh, maybe maybe she's got a point. Maybe I know more stuff than I know, right?
mhm.
But it's letting go of that mind, because the mind will go, oh no, but you know, you want to make friends and you want to go out with those girls anyway. Like
Yeah.
the mind will make up these stories to work against the intuition and work against the highest self.
Hmm. And sometimes I like imagine like, because I feel like sometimes at different stages of my life, I'm a lot for my higher self to handle. Like I can imagine like our higher selves at certain times of our life being like, like no, or like trying to like knock on the door and be like, can you hear me?
But then the alter ego is just like, honey, we've got fucking needs.
Yeah, yeah. And I know for me, like I've definitely like ignored it at times and received the same message over and over again. And almost there are certain times that I do get like big changes that I need to make and I'm so scared. And I think there's almost like this period of like it's okay if you know what change you need to do, but you also need time to navigate making that change. And it's different for everyone. Like at the end of last year, when before me and my partner moved to the country where we live now, we just got this random opportunity to move to where we are now. Like someone just offered to rent their house out to us. We I have never lived where we live right now. Like I didn't even know this town. Anyway, and immediately like my whole body was like absolutely yes, and my partner was like absolutely yes. It took us 6 weeks to rent out the house we owned, sell everything we pretty much owned, and move here. It was so aligned. Like my intuition was like, let's go, and you just like make it happen. But like that was a 6 week process to actually honor that calling and be like, yeah, that's so aligned. Whereas there's other things that are smaller that you can action like on the day that you feel them. But it's just knowing that if it does take time, that that's also okay too, and to not be too hard on yourself.
Mm, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes time to build that to build the trust with your intuition and your higher self. But I really feel that starting small, starting in little increments. Like for example, if you go to the shops and you're like, oh, maybe I need water or milk, for example, or bread, and then just going, oh no, it's okay, I don't need it. But then getting home and then realizing that you needed the milk or the bread or the water, just gently listening to that and just seeing what happens at the very end, and then understanding why that is. Or maybe you've got milk, bread, or water at home, but then you run out the next day and you're like, I'm really glad that I got that. Or, oh, wow, just noticed that I didn't get that, but I got like this direct message from my body. My body told me, not my mind, my body knew that I needed to get this thing and I didn't get it. Okay, maybe next time I'm going to listen to that. And it's like strengthening that muscle. It's like going to the gym, right? You don't just go to the gym and train once and all of a sudden, you build glutes or a bicep, right? You've got to go consistently. You've got to eat the right foods. You've got to eat enough food, enough carbs, right? You've got to train consistently. You've got to train different styles, different ways. You've got to drink enough water. You've got to have enough sleep. You've got to do all of these things to strengthen that muscle. You got to get pushed through the DOMs, allow the time for stretching and all of those things before the muscle will start to grow. It's the exact same with intuition and that connection with your highest self as well. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And it does take work. Like all of the healing process takes work, and maintaining a connection with your intuition and your higher self takes work to maintain and to honor that. But I do feel like there comes a point where you've shed so much of like the limiting beliefs and the conditioning that you're not so held back anymore, that it does become easier to honor your higher self and like be in tune with what your intuition is telling you. And it doesn't mean it gets easier, because there's still things that like come up for me that my intuition's like, you need to have this conversation or do this thing. And I'm like, Dani, I don't want to.
I don't want to. What do I do? Do it. Aligned active action.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh no, okay, here I go.
Big girl stuff. Buy yourself stuff.
Yeah. But it's just knowing that like it does get easier in the sense of understanding your intuition, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy to honor it. but it's such a beautiful path to like fulfillment and deeper love and deeper connection with yourself, and just like overall like really connecting to your power and to the essence of your being, which is love. Like I really feel that your higher self, like your soul, is your connection to the divine or God or source or whatever you want to call it. Like, and I think that can be confusing because then people are like, so if your higher self is God, are you God? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
And when you start to really feel into your intuition and like deep connection to your higher self, you start to fucking feel that you are God, that you are a manifestation of God. And we are all one. And that sounds so woo woo, but that's exactly why this podcast is called Woo Woo.
Yeah, 100%. We are all one. We are all God, right? God,
Mm-hmm.
goddess,
Yeah.
are all the divine. We're a byproduct of that, a piece of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's through like eliminating the separation and realizing that we are all one that we eliminate suffering.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah.
Mic drop,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So I trust that in today's episode, for those of you listening, that you can really feel the power of just starting to connect with your intuition, whatever that looks like to you. And there was a book I was reading a little while ago, and this was more so connecting to like your body. And it's like, it could be as small as like needing to go to the toilet and being like, oh, hold on for a minute. And be like, no, I'm going to start honoring what my body's telling me. And every time I need to go toilet or I need a drink of water, I have it straight away. Just starting to like do those little micro things to connect with your body, because your intuition is through your body. And slowly building upon that, and then realizing like, wow, I'm fucking God.
As you shared that, I was like, fuck, I really need a drink of water. I'm going to have a drink of water.
Yeah. How's that? Aligned active action.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Beautiful. Mm.
Mm. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Yeah, we trust that you have gained insight, around the intuition and the highest self, and how your life can change when you start to listen to her or him
Hmm.
that you align with.
Yeah. Thank
Sending
you
you
so
all so much love and so much light. We love you.
much. We love you. Bye.